Before we start this podcast, I want to definitely remind you of a sponsor for Fresh of the Word, 20 by 20 Apparel. Founded in 2015, 20 by 20 Apparel brings original tributes to pro wrestling's classic arenas, moments, and events. They look to spotlight the bloopers, bleeps, and body slams along with the biggest, smallest, strangest, and strongest. In the world of wrestling where there's hundreds of shirts, promotions, flyers, social media accounts, and ads, don't get lost in the sea of parody shirts and display fonts. They can provide professional graphic design services at a reasonable price. 20 by 20 also hand screen prints all the tees in-house. So if you'd like to discuss a possible run of tees, posters, koozies, foam fingers, or even Zubaz, then drop them a line at 20by20apparel.com. That's the number 20x, the number 20apparel.com. And also check out their enamel pin line. It's super cool.
Fresh is the word.
Welcome to the Fresh is the Word podcast. I'm your host, Kelly K. Fresh Frazier. And like always, we have the freshest of guests for you. The guest for this episode is the Oregon-born, Los Angeles-based DJ and producer, LP Giobbi. She just released her new EP, Playing My Role, featuring her mix a lot via Thrive Music. It's a follow-up to her summer club smash, Meet Again, featuring Little Boots. LP is co-owner of Animal Talk, a hybrid publishing company, event brand, traveling party, and artist collective she co-founded with Grammy-nominated electronic duo Sophie Tucker. LP also founded Femme, an educational platform created to address the lack of representation and inequality in electronic music by empowering women to learn the language of the studio. During our chat, we talked about her upbringing in music, becoming a DJ and producer, linking up with Sophie Tucker. We also get into her motivation for starting Femme and why it's so important to continuously fight for representation and equality in electronic music. And before we get into this episode with LP Giobbi, just wanted to have an update on everything. Took a couple weeks off because I wasn't really feeling well. A little burnt out, caught a little bug, non-COVID though. Feeling great, feeling good now. Everything's up and running. We're going to have 2 episodes this week. The next episode coming right after this one will be with, old school vinyl, rare gem, global DJ, Scheme Richards. He's a cool brother. We talked to, a lot about that. I guess we're all just trying to get through, this presidential race. It's one crazy thing after another. I'm just trying to, keep my cool. I know everybody else is, but, definitely vote. Recently I hosted on Paxahaw TV on twitch.com or twitch.tv/Paxahaw, their Paxa chat with a good friend of mine, drum and bass DJ producer, Sinistar. It was super fun. I'm glad that Paxahaw, sorry, I'm mispronouncing that. Paxa, how are you doing? I'm glad that they brought me on to do that. It was the first time doing a live stream, and who better to do that with than the homie Sinistar. That should be up on YouTube and on SoundCloud on Paxahaw's channels very soon. Definitely check for on my social medias for more when those get posted. Besides that, just been cataloging my record collection, putting it on Discogs. My username's KFresh if you want to check out my collection and stuff that I have on sale. I have a lot of electronic music stuff, a lot of 70s and 80s pop and rock, some hip hop stuff, a little bit of everything. Just trying to slim down my collection. I also have a want list on there that has a few things. So if you see anything, let me know. That's my thing that calms me down. That and watching music videos. And I've learned a lot through watching music videos these days. Learned like who the actual name of some of these bands were in the '80s and stuff like that. That did these songs, man. And now I'm like picking up the records on Discogs. I'm like, I need that. I'm doing the same thing while going through my records. I'm like, oh yeah. I need, what? I don't have this record from this band. So I'm like I'm curating my record collection a little bit more, getting rid of, trimming the fat, getting rid of stuff I just don't listen to. I'm like that someone else will appreciate more. And I really underestimated the Discogs community in regards to how quick they will buy up like cheap like old '60s or '70s and '80s records. That might not be in the best of shape, but they're cheap. I have them for $1, $2, $3, $5. So that's been cool. So that's what I've been doing. I'm just trying to keep it cool. And also continuing on with my other podcast, Renaissance Soul, the Detroit History Podcast. I got a few episodes left of this year, which will be like the first season. Then I'll take a little break and then continue on. I'll be doing Fresh as the Word until the end of the year. Probably take a couple of weeks off at the end. But that's how things are going. Everything's going good. So let's get into this interview, man, with LP Giobbi after a word from our sponsor. All right, welcome back to the Fresh as the Word podcast. And like always, we have the freshest of guests for you. My guest for this episode is LP Giobbi. She's a musician, a producer, a DJ. She's the head unicorn over at Sufi Tucker's Animal Talk, and she's creator of Femme, which is an educational platform created to address the lack of representation in equity in electronic music. Plus, she has a smile that can light up any of the darkest and dingiest techno clubs around the world. Thanks for joining Fresh as the Word, LP.
Thanks for that intro.
You're welcome. I just heard about you from your publicist, and it was just like, I was looking over your Instagram accounts, and I'm like, yo, she's mad cool, and she's creating a platform. She's not just a DJ or producer. She's creating a community, a platform, and everything kind of goes together and such. Kind of like, first things first, let's talk about Femme House, because I see a lot of familiar faces when I'm looking, looking at the people that you've kind of highlighted. I'm here in Detroit, so I saw some Detroit faces there. Talk about Femme House.
Cool. Yeah, I actually just did I sat on a panel at Ableton for a Detroit festival last week, which was really fun. But Femme House is a nonprofit I started about a year ago, and it is an educational workshop. Before the pandemic and after the pandemic, it's a monthly workshop in Los Angeles, free workshop for women and non-binary folks and gender fluid folks to learn how to produce music on Ableton. We also just rolled out online courses so people anywhere in the world can take them. And it's just sort of it's a community and a platform and an educational series to teach women how to produce music at its core. There's still a massive lack of female producers, and so we are trying to change that narrative and give more visual representation to that. And it's been an awesome journey, and I've met some of the coolest people through this program.
Right. That's always a topic for a lot of the women that are out there, and you see these festivals, and there might be like one woman, two women on these huge lineups. There's a lot of there is a lot of women out there making music, and there's always room for more. But what's sort of like what was your motivation to be like, hey, we do need more representation at these festivals, in these lineups, in these compilations, in electronic music, because the usual thing is, oh, there's nobody out there, there's not enough women, but, I don't know about that.
Yeah. Well, you just tell those people to come to me because I have a comprehensive spreadsheet of all the women who, definitely should be and could be booked for festivals, and all of their following numbers and their streaming numbers and all the info to hand over to promoters that I oftentimes do send over when I get booked myself. I moved down to LA to join an all-female electronic band, and I was doing sound design and synthesis stuff. And I was working with a lot of awesome male producers, but it didn't even occur to me that I could have that role until I heard that Grimes produced her own music, and that sort of a light bulb went off. I was raised by parents who were like, you can do anything you want. Like, that didn't even occur to me because I didn't see myself in that role. I didn't know any female producers. I just, truly didn't even think that I could have that as a job. And when that light bulb went off, I kind of went like, wow, what else do I not think that I could be, just because there's no visual representation of me in that role. And from that moment on, I became really dead set on, being that for another woman in the future. And so I locked myself in the garage, and I taught myself how to produce music for the next few years, and taught myself Ableton and Pro Tools and how to work these DAWs. And I just wanted to be able to pay that forward and create a space where women can feel safe learning that. My first time, I took an Ableton course in San Francisco, and it was 250 men and me, the only woman taking the course. So I kind of feel like, it would be nice to one day create a space where it's women can learn from other women and, build a community that way. So as far as the festival lineups go, yeah, it's pretty still very not equitable yet. But I do see changes happening, and I think that the more, women who are producing, getting comfortable with the gear, getting comfortable producing and DJing, and that, those kind of go hand in hand at this point. And I know that there are changes being made, and hopefully Femme has a role in that, in pushing that along. And I think that it does take the promoters and the bookers have to be conscious, and they have to be aware, and they have to, work to find, because the problem is, a booker is going to book a festival, and they're going to look at another, who did Coachella book, or who did EDC book, whatever. And it's hard to, if you can't get your first foot on the lineup, it's hard to keep getting lineups. And so there just has to be a conscious decision to, we're going to go out, we're going to find women who are good and who are worthy. And once you can have the story and say, have your agent go out and say she's played XYZ, it just starts getting easier to play other festivals. So, it just takes the consciousness of the promoter to really make that decision and change that narrative.
One thing we're kind of learning from specifically during this current civil rights movement that we're going through with the Black Lives Matter movement is that, all this stuff is systematic. There's a system put in place that is, not given opportunities to certain people, whether it's based off the color of their skin, their gender and whatnot. When it comes to, electronic music, what is the systematic things that need to be broken in regards to, having more representation from all these different, different people?
Yeah, it's definitely a systemic issue for sure. I think that it starts with the gatekeepers. The gatekeepers are the agents, they're the promoters, they're the producers usually. Those people who are in power, who are mostly men still. Yeah. I think it takes consciousness and awareness to, work a little bit harder to find the women who could play your festival and that who would be a good look and a good booking. It just takes awareness. It takes care and concern. And, the thing is that once you start putting more women on the lineup, other women in the audience see themselves in these women on stages, and they start thinking, oh, maybe I could do this. And then a whole other generation of people starts to spring up. So it really starts at the top with the gatekeepers. When I really wanted to become a producer so I could help other women put out their own music, and I took a job as the W Hotel's North American music director, booking all of their live events so I could put more women on stages. And I just think it's really up to those gatekeeper roles to have some awareness and to bring that into the work they're doing.
How do you sort of, bring awareness to these promoters and whatnot. Because if another thing that we've seen during this time, during this new chapter of the civil rights movement, is that a lot of times you got to put pressure on people. You got to protest. You got to start some
Yeah.
sort of community effort. What do you
Yeah.
have to do to these gatekeepers out there, and what do you say to the people, to the women that you work with, in regards to standing out and being a part of that pressure that you have to put on these promoters?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's twofold. Like, I think what we're learning about what's going on in the world right now, which is really cool, is that finally white people in particular are waking up to the fact that it's not enough to just, like, not be racist. You have to be anti-racist.
Yeah.
Like, you have to take the power and the privilege you've been given to then pay it forward. It's not enough to just not be an asshole. So I think that, if we can apply that to the music industry and the, electronic music in particular, I think just, again, like the awareness of the people who are in power. And then also, for like, whenever I do get booked, I do have my team send out a spreadsheet with like, if you're still in the booking process, here are a bunch of other women, non-binary, women of color, who would work for your festival. Here's all their numbers. Here's their contact. Like, just making it as easy as possible for them. So I see that as my responsibility, with like a small amount of, sorry, I have a plane flying over me. Hold on.
Right.
With the small amount of, power and privilege that I've been given, I think it's important for me to also, as a white woman in particular, be really aware of that and make sure that, like I'm booking a lot of lineups for Femme. We just did a Desert Hearts takeover on their Twitch channel, and I need, making sure that there are women of color represented in there, that there are non-binary folks represented in there, and that is my responsibility in it. And I just hope that, the people who are booking and the people who are agents and managers also take their responsibility on themselves.
Right. Another kind of systemic thing about the music industry is that, a lot of, white men are in power, but a part of that too is that there's a lot of abuse that goes towards women. And what we're seeing a lot now, things going on right now, is that during this pandemic, a lot of DJs are not on the road. They're, kind of like we're seeing some of the way some of the DJs are, like almost like their career was built on, like, a castle of sand. So you're seeing the realness kind of come out. You're seeing people come forward about shitty behavior in regards to certain men in the DJ culture. So what do you tell the women that you work with about sort of what to expect, how to protect themselves versus any sort of predatory behavior in the DJ culture?
Well, I mean, yeah, that's a question that has many layers to it, right? I mean, I personally had an amazing experience with many different men in the industry as producers and agents and managers. There are a lot of wonderful men out there. Warren Dirge comes to mind. He's been an amazing mentor and shared knowledge and songs and information with me so freely and openly. I think though that education is important. So a reason I started Femme House was when I moved to LA, I was meeting so many amazing women, singer-songwriters, who were sort of waiting for a producer to pluck them out of obscurity and help put out their music, and actually make their music. And I think that narrative creates, a sort of a power dynamic that can be really unhealthy. And so with Femme House, my goal is to maybe producing isn't your actual calling, but at least language at the studio, so when you are in a session with a producer, you can say, I want more filter here, like take off all the reverb on my vocals, like just sort of have more control over the sound of your song, which is, your art and your voice. So I think education is really important for us. And, just like aligning with allies who are out there. There are good men out there, and it's really important that, allyship, I think, again, as we're learning right now, it's happening in the world, is the way to make change. People in power do have to care and have to, lift as they climb.
Now, how do you sort of, when you're working with these women, like, is there any times when kind of like their own security is getting in the way and maybe they don't believe in themselves as much to be able to do all those things and sort of kind of do more for themselves, realize that they can put out their own music, they can voice their opinions about how a track is going. Sort of, how do you deal with like the mental aspect of that?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think belief is a human thing that people of all genders struggle with, especially I think as an artist, am I good enough? Is this enough? I think that's a question that we ask ourselves all the time, and I actually think that most of my work as a producer and a keyboardist and a DJ, most of my work is really mental work. It's like finding strength to believe in myself. It's finding whether that's through mantras. And every single morning I wake up and I write 3 pages of word vomit. It's kind of like all the negative stuff that's in my head. I just get it out on the page, and then I end with positive affirmations. Mine are, right now, I am the piano house queen. I am the piano house queen over and over and over until maybe I can start believing it. And therefore, then I can get up, and I can open my Ableton session, and I can start working,
Right.
I think it's really a game of trying to find, your inner child before you judge or criticize yourself, and find your joy, and find your belief. And I think that's most of the work, honestly, as an artist, for men and women, and non-binary folks alike. So, I think that on a human-to-human level, I think one of my main jobs at Femme House is to say, I believe in you. You can do this. Truly, if I can do this, I am living proof that anybody can do this. I had no natural ability towards this. I just grinded, and I, took every resource I possibly could to learn, and spent time and energy and effort on it. And it's possible for absolutely anybody if you're willing to put in the work. And that's kind of what I say to all the women that I get the pleasure and the honor of working with.
Right.
I had Sophie and Tucker, who believed in me. They found me. I was playing this festival to nobody, and they thought there was something special there, and they said, I believe in you. So then I, in turn, thought, okay, well, I guess I'll be with myself if you do, and so that's changed my life. And, what I've learned from that is that belief is really the ultimate, it's really the ultimate thing that we can give ourselves. So if I could give that to somebody else, that's really why I'm here.
What is it about, what do you think it is about yourself that you were able to build your career the way that you've been able to and, get these opportunities? Is there anything that you feel like you can just point to that is the reason why, you're at the place you're at?
Totally. I mean, I think that at the base level, I have these artists, Sophie Tucker, who had a platform, and they, literally built stages for me to play on as their opening DJ. They started a record label to release my music. They created a community where I wasn't alone, and I, was able to believe in myself and learn and create. And, I just they used their platform to, actually push me forward. I also, I've had a lot of support. I had parents who were like, you got this. I went to school for jazz piano performance. I've been studying music a really, really long time. But I think that really what it comes to, even the opportunity that led me to meeting Sophie and Tucker, I just had blind faith. I just thought, if I say yes to every opportunity I can possibly say yes to, if I just throw everything against the wall, something will stick. And so I just sort of lived my life like that for, 4 years until something stuck. And, I had so much joy. I found joy in all the experiences that I said yes to. So there's always something to learn from, the intrinsic value of just doing it, even if there's no larger outcome. But, you never know when that larger outcome is going to hit. So I just threw everything I had against the wall.
Right.
And I think, I remember my partner, he would always tell me, it's really a game of, who can stick it out the longest. Some artists, for sure, they release a song and their career just goes. But that's very rare. So it's can you just stay in it? Can you just stay grinding? Can you just stay creating? Can you just stay trying? Because if you can outlast, something will happen.
Kind of rewinding back, when was the first time, in your life that you kind of had the urge to, to do music? You just mentioned about, your childhood a little bit. But when was that first time where you just had the urge of, wanting to do music?
Yeah, totally. I was in second grade, and I came to my parents, and I said, I need piano lessons. And they were like, what? Didn't have a piano in the house or anything, but I think I, saw a street performer, play the piano. I thought, I need to do that. And so I just nagged at them until they thought, okay, I guess that's great. Maybe you're old enough to, be able to sit through piano lessons. And I think this is actually really what everything ties back to and why I'm the luckiest on the planet. They found this piano teacher named Carolyn Horn, who is, the most influential person in my life to this day. I studied with her from second grade all the way to going away to college, through senior year of high school. And, in the middle school years when, most people, stop wanting to practice the piano and they, get interested in other things or whatever, she kept me interested because she really taught creativity more than scales and, being a drill master. She really just, some days I would come in and play the inside of her grand piano, or other days we would play the bongos and dance. She just cultivated joy and the beauty of creativity, and so it became part of me. And then when I went to college, I kept studying jazz performance and whatnot, and that eventually led me to playing a jazz gig at this solo jazz piano gig at this bar in San Francisco. And while I was doing that, this producer who worked with Daft Punk and was their engineer and producer, he approached me and asked me if I wanted to move to LA to join this all-female electronic band. So, that's kind of how that all started. But it started with piano lessons really in second grade. I don't know why I was determined to get those, but I guess I had something inside me that said do this.
No, what was sort of the next chapter in that? Did you go to LA at that time? What happened?
Yeah, I go to LA and I spend the next actually 3 years in the garage teaching myself sound design, synthesis, Pro Tools, Ableton, learning about grime, being determined to become a producer. And my music was bad at first. It was really bad. If I had just judged it and stopped, I'm so grateful I kept going. And as I got more comfortable with different gear and different synths, I kind of thought, DJing looks kind of fun. Let me understand this world, and sort of dabbling in DJing a little bit. And that I was actually playing at a festival with this band I was in, and a DJ fell off of the after party, who was the support for the Sophie Tucker after party show. And so my agent last minute was they're looking for a DJ. Can you fill in? And I thought, it's one of those times where I said, I'm going to say yes to everything. I wasn't even there as a DJ, but I was going to say yes. And so I went to the gig, and my mom was actually teaching the festival, and she was the only person on the dance floor. And she was only there to feed me chicken nuggets. And I remember thinking, it was one of those moments where I thought, what am I doing with my life? This cannot be it. And turns out, though, that Sophie and Tucker were backstage listening to my whole set. And so I left the festival, and a month later, they DM'd me and asked me if I wanted to be their direct support on their tour. And their first headline U.S. tour, and I was like, oh, I don't even really know how to DJ. I was just on my laptop, and well, we love what you did, come or not. And so I literally learned how to DJ in front of people night after night, failing epically. But I'll tell you what, failure will drive you to succeed. So I spent, all my extra hours. We were driving around in a minivan at the time, and I could the venue and just literally watch YouTube tutorials. And it's just funny to think how my rig has grown. I now have a semi-live element in the show, and with a drum machine and a bass and a keyboard. But at the time I had this tiny little controller, and it just that just sort of started to work. The band was a really fun, weird, experimental art project, and I loved it. But when I met Tucker, he was like, "You're this joyous person. You're in this band making pretty weird, dark music. What if you made music that reflected who you were?" And so I just sort of started doing that, and it kind of started finally coming together for me. So I just followed the path that's being laid out for you.
Yeah, failing in public is something that, all DJs used to do back in the day, before a lot of this, technology came out, that's how we used to do it back in the day. So that's good that you learned that lesson, to be able to, it kind of gives you a little kick in the butt, in regards to learning, because you're
very humbling. Yes.
Yeah. Cause you're I don't want to be shitty forever, and
Yeah.
I don't like that
But
feeling.
it also teaches you though, like, it's not the end of the world. Like, that kind of, like, taught me, like, life will still keep going. I'll still breathe. People in the audience will keep dancing, even if it's not a great mix. And, like, that allows me to be more experimental than I think I would normally. Like, I have a very type A personality where, like, everything has to be perfect. And that experience sort of taught me, like, it's okay if it's not perfect. And I'm really grateful for that, because that allows me to, like, be weirder on stage and try out new things that, will lead to some sort of cool moment of creativity and, learning. So, yeah, I mean, life will just keep going. We're just making music here. Like, I'm not a brain surgeon. I'm not perfect. Like, just sort of like the stakes are, I mean, of course we want to do our best, but it's really about, creativity, joy, and learning.
Right, and I see you on Twitch now DJing. Heard your tracks. You're really good. I really enjoy. The energy that you bring in both of those things. When did you finally feel comfortable, like, in what you were doing, or any sort of comfort? Let's just say.
Yeah, I would say that once I start feeling comfortable is when I really shake it up. So I think that once I reach a level of, like, okay, I feel really comfortable in this. Like, okay, I added the piano, I feel really comfortable with that in the set. Okay, I added the drum machine, I feel comfortable with that set. I added the TP3, I feel comfortable with that. I'm going to start, like, getting acapellas to loop on top. As soon as I feel comfortable, I add something or I change something, because I think the point of, this life, at least as far as I figured it out, is to keep, growing and pushing yourself and seeing what you could do. So I really don't stay in the place of comfort very often. I would say at those shows, I'm, like, trying out something new that I haven't really done before, and I'm nervous about it. But I think I actually love that feeling of, like, this could go wrong, and, it just sort of makes you slightly more engaged, I think if I stepped onto every stage and thought, I got this, then I think I would be bored. But there's certainly a level of, like, okay, I know that it starts train wrecking. I know what I can do to recover. I know what knots I can turn. I know, like, the spin back move I can do to, like, just get out. So, that is for sure reassuring. And I probably didn't get there until, it was probably 2 solid years of touring and playing night after night in front of people to get to a place of, like, I can experiment and it'll be okay. I obviously took way longer than I wanted it to. A lot of hours by myself, just with the gear, touching everything, being, just getting comfortable with messing up it, as much as I could in private. But a lot of it was public.
Right. What was what was the importance of, like, building your confidence during this time?
Yeah, what I've learned is that actually really building my confidence is, like, a separate job. And actually, I'm still on that journey. And for me, the focus is really finding internal validation. Like, I am not what I do. I love what I do, but, I'm a person of worth for other reasons, because I'm, a good daughter and a good sister and a good friend, and, like, these things that I think are actually very valuable. So, like, really focusing on my personal growth as a human and sort of disassociating, like, external validation from who I am. Because then that sort of allows you to, if you mess up, like, that doesn't mean you suck. It's just you didn't do good that night, and that's okay. And, like, even the opposite, if you did really good and the crowd's going wild, and, that doesn't feed your ego too much, because, again, that's not who you are, it's just what you do. So I think, like, that actually is really more than, like, becoming confident. It's just finding, no matter where I go, I am still, a good human. And, like, I think that allows me to then do the work I need to do.
What have you learned during your time, working with Sophie Tucker?
Oh, I've learned everything. I learned everything from them. I just love dance music. I mean, I was raised by Deadheads. Like, I was, like, listening to a lot of indie rock. I had just sort of started creeping into the world of electronic music, but more like, too many DJs, or, like, Soul Wax, sort of like hybrid band dance kind of thing. And really, they were the ones who, turned me on to house music and that whole entire world, which, is just mind-blowing for me, black hole. And, I've gone to work in the studio with them a lot. We have a track coming out at the end of the year that I'm really excited about, our first collaboration, and that process was so fun and so joyous. And really what they bring to the table is they have so much excitement for the music they're making, for what they're doing. Everything is just so excitable and so new. You know, they don't, like, when they listen to their own music, they love it and they get excited about it. And it's really refreshing and cool to see that. And they also are really good at, like, tapping into their inner child. There's, like, a lot of playtime. I mean, they're the hardest working people I know, without a doubt. But there's so much joy and play in what they do. And I think that's why they're able to sustain themselves and not, you know, overwork themselves, is because there's so much joy in their lives. There's so much play, and it's just, I feel it's the biggest gift in my life to be around them.
Yeah, that's something that I always noticed about them from the moment that, like, you know, they became on my radar. I was like, yo, this, like, they really do feel like, you know, they really act like they really are into this. They're really having fun with this stuff.
Totally. They are the most fun people. Like, so much laughter and so much joy. And I'm actually touring with them. The tour schedule is pretty, you know, there's a different city every night, after party most of the time. And they take really good care of themselves. They sort of treat themselves like athletes more than rock stars. So, like, you know, they don't drink or party on the road. You know, they're doing meditation before and after the set, like, so that they can, like, calm their adrenaline in a natural way, so they can sleep that night, so they can get up and do it again. They're eating super healthy. There's, like, green smoothies, you know, after the show. It's just a really, really healthy mind, body, spirit sort of journey. And that has been really cool to see, you know, because when I first started, I'd go to clubs, like, a lot of times the bars would be like, you need any drugs for tonight? Like, it was just sort of assumed. And it's just been really cool to see a different way of doing it. Like, actually, I have more energy when I just take really good care of myself than I can to the after party. And I can be on my play the next day. It's, I think that's not normally the narrative in electronic music, but
Right.
I'll tell you, like, people think that, you know, at the shows, everybody assumes they're also on Molly. They are, like, just so high on life. It's really cool.
You know, what's, you know, outside of everything we've talked about, all the music stuff, you know, what are some of your interests? You know, what kind of things do you do to decompress?
Great question. This is something I'm actually working on in the pandemic, because I spent the last years only working and kind of becoming actually a workaholic, just, like, needing to, like, see this goal through. And with this latest release, like, I finally kind of see the path now, and I'm trying to like, breathe a little bit deeper and, like, take the claw grip, you know, out of my hand. And I also I don't think how I was living was very healthy at all. I would, you know, I'd be on tour, I'd get off stage, I'd send emails until 2 or 3 in the morning, I'd get up at 6, take conference calls, get in the studio, get on an airplane. Like, it was just a lot. And so I'm really working on developing myself as a person outside of music. I really care about family. I'm really close to my family, so I try to spend as much time as I can with them. I try to read books, all sorts of different kinds of books, not just self-growth or self-help books. And I like running. I really like going on long runs, and just, you know, spending time with learning from I have a really awesome community of powerful women in my life. So trying to stay in touch and maintain those friendships, and yeah.
You know,
That's kind of me in a nutshell.
Music-wise, how are you dealing with the pandemic, and what do you wait? Hold on.
Yeah, well, actually, I kind of have to run. I have my live stream in 10 minutes, so I have to get ready for that.
Oh, okay, all right then.
I've been live streaming every day. I can answer if you want. I've been live streaming every day, and, you know, I've actually been spending more time in the studio because I have more energy. And it's actually been, I think it's hard not knowing when it ends, you know, like, not knowing when I can share music on a dance floor, because what I'm really learning is, like, I've actually never had more success in my life during this pandemic, ironically. What I'm actually learning is, like, more than, like, through Spotify streaming or whatever, what really does fuel me is sharing music on a dance floor with people. So, which is really awesome to, you know, reaffirm as an artist. I think that's so good to know that. And I'm excited when that comes back. And in the meantime, I have about an album's worth of music that will most likely come out next year, which I'm excited about. So just working on that, and, you know, working on being good human.
Definitely. It's been great talking with you. Do you have any last thoughts that you want to share with the audience about, you and anything that you're involved in?
Thanks. I mean, we covered a lot. I would say, Femmehouse, check it out. This is femmehouse.com. We're in a fundraising stage. We're raising money for a scholarship program for women of color. Another barrier to entry. As a producer, all the gear costs a lot of money. The computer, the DOT, Ableton, whatever. So we're working on that to diversify the women who take our course. And I have a few tracks coming out in the next few months that I'm excited about, and on different labels, so stay tuned for that.
Thank you for listening to the Fresh is the Word podcast, hosted and produced by myself, Kelly K. Fresh Frazier, empowered by Anchor at anchor.fm/Fresh is the Word. Fresh is the Word theme music provided by Steve O. You can find more of his productions at iamsteveo.bandcamp.com, and that's EYEAMSTEVEO.bandcamp.com. Fresh is the Word is available on all major streaming platforms. Please rate and review on Apple Podcasts and Stitcher. If you want to support Fresh is the Word, please consider pledging via Patreon at patreon.com/freshisthe-word. Follow Fresh is the Word on social media on Twitter at Fresh is the Pod, on Instagram at Fresh is the Word Podcast, and join the Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/Fresh is the Word. For more information about Fresh is the Word and our other podcasts, Breaking Records and Renaissance Soul, and a collection of pop culture articles and reviews, please visit freshithepodcast.com. Thank you for listening and your support. Goodbye and good night.
Fresh is the word.